thing that people really struggle with in the trainings and when I'm coaching people is how critical done is. And it's almost with childlike surprise when the definition of done is set correctly, things start to fall into place and people look at you and go, oh, wow, who knew it was so important? It's like, yeah, like who knew, right? Now, if Scrum and Agile is about one thing, it's done. Do something, get some feedback, do some more. But what does done mean? Done means finished, complete, releasable, no further work required. The quality is good. I've got two metaphors for you, and a lot of people have picked them up from my various train the trainers. The first one is don't serve raw chicken. Right? If you serve someone a piece of chicken, the juice has to come out clear. Otherwise, you could kill them. It's pretty straightforward, right? Now, years ago, I ran a course, and this fellow was a weightlifter. Like, he was a bodybuilder. And so at that time, he was preparing for a competition. He was eating chicken, brown rice, and broccoli. No sauces, flavorings, salts, condiments, anything. Just that. It was fuel to him. He was eating 4 or 5 chicken breasts a day. I said to him, how do you cook it? He said, I just put it in the microwave until the juices run clear. And I said, what does that taste like? He's like, I don't care. You eat so much of this stuff, but that's the point. It was done, right? It was releasable. He could eat it without any harm. Now, most of us, when we're preparing a meal, we want some flavor, maybe you want a sauce on it or something like that, but that's okay. And it's like comparing a fast food chain with a Michelin restaurant. The definition of done will vary on their context based on the price point. Now, there's a big difference between a burger that costs you $120 and a meal that costs you $120. And so we're going to expect a lot more detail and subtlety and nuance and exquisite flavors from the 120 Michelin star meal. But the burger's going to fill you up. It's going to stop you being hungry. And so your definition of done will depend upon your context. Your definition of done is the key artifact of transparency. It means that everybody knows what's going on. Now, the other thing is done is like pregnant. Doesn't matter how much fun you're having trying to get there, until you are, you're not. And there's no such thing as nearly pregnant, almost pregnant, a little bit pregnant, or really pregnant. You're just pregnant, right? And it's the same thing with done. You can't put other words in front of done because it just creates confusion. Are we done? What, really done? No, proper done. What, done? No, done. And it just doesn't stack up. So done has to be absolutely clear. This is releasable. This can go to the customer. There is no further work on it. It hits our quality standards. Our team is proud of the work. It will do no harm. Now, because you've got that transparency, you have a common understanding. And working backwards, like working from the right, as we do in Kanban, once we understand what done looks like, that can help us shape our understanding. How many questions do we need to ask before we start doing the thing? If we know how complex the meal is, we know how long it's going to take us to cook it, right? And it's the same with work. If we know the quality that we have to achieve, that helps us ask the right questions to ensure when we take it into the sprint or we take it into our Kanban flow, that we have broken it down into enough of a chunk so that we can finish it. And so that common understanding helps build and grow communication. And once it is done, we can release it, which means we can then unlock the value. We can deploy to production. We can give it to our customers, unlocking value and obtaining feedback. And so what about if you don't have a definition of done? Well, you will have somewhere in your organization, somewhere there is somebody who knows what you need to go through to get your product to the customer. That's your first step. Write that down. Is it strong enough? Is the next question. See if you can tighten it up. What about if you're in this curious space of having to do integration testing or regression testing or some other testing after it leaves your team? Are you doing Scrum? No, you're not. Full stop. It's not done yet. You are going to have a 2 or maybe a 3-stage definition of done. I worked with financial institutions that did that because it was all built on fiefdoms and hierarchies. And once a team did something, it then had to go to a QA team for further testing or regression, and then it got handed off to another team. What this does is creates delay in releasing value. Now, what you can do is an approximation of Scrum where your team get it to an agreed point to hand over to someone else, and then you've got to work like crazy to help your organization understand that you need to bring all of that work into the sprint. And that's okay. Because Scrum does 2 things. First of all, it is a framework for helping deliver value. And the second beautiful thing, when done well, it's a framework of learning, of helping your organization get better at delivering value. And done is the most powerful tool to highlight organizational dysfunction and challenges. Because if you can't get done into a sprint, then you've got some problems in your organization. And this is one of the reasons the term DevOps came out. So many people were not doing done properly that there was so much frustration within the engineering community because done wasn't being respected. They needed to come up with another term for getting to done quickly. And that's the reason we now have BizDevSecOps. What is it? It means done. It means take a piece of work in and finish it. So is done clear enough? Do you have it written down? Do you check it every retrospective? Do you hold done up every time you bring a piece of work into your team? And is the discussion, how are we going to get this done? Is your daily Scrum about, are we going to hit our sprint goal? What's the thing that we can get done today? Do people outside your team understand the importance of done? Does your board understand done? Get done, get learning, get better.